Hello and welcome back to Portugal. It's Friday and it's time for another Flashback Friday episode. We've been doing a lot of gardening recently, and so we thought it'd be interesting to show you the evolution of the garden that you can just about see behind me. Closest to me is the raised beds that we put in a few episodes ago, but it now goes way off into the distance. There are some water tanks and a well right in the background, and we have now expanded our growing area all the way to that. And that's what we're going to be showing you in the next video, is some of that expansion, some more experiments with some no dig and some dig, and just to tee us all up for that and to show you how far we've come in really not much more than a year, maybe a year and a half. We thought we'd rewind a little bit and show you some of the first beds that we put into this area just beyond the raised beds behind me, so you can see how things have changed and evolved and some of the things that we've been testing and trying and learning a lot as we go. So let's jump in the time machine, head back to November 2020 and show you what this piece of land behind me used to look like.
When we bought this small farm estate in the interior of Portugal, we always knew that we wanted to grow a lot of our own food. But we also knew that we had very little experience of doing that, and the best course of action would be to start small and build things up over time. We'd already cleared this large area and planned to experiment with a range of gardening methods and techniques. The first one that we wanted to try was no dig, which I'll explain a bit more about later on.
And so what we're going to do is put in a couple of beds. We've got some cardboard over here. The idea is we put cardboard down first, then compost will go on the top. So the cardboard is designed to block out the weeds, the grasses and all that kind of stuff. And it will break down over time as it will get wet and moist and it will decompose. And the compost that goes on top is what we plant into. Eventually the roots will go down through the decomposed cardboard and into the amazing soil that we have underneath my feet. In terms of the amount of area we're going to do, we're going to try and do 2 beds in this kind of block that is closest to the trellis path. So in future there will be 14 rows split into 2 sections with a path down the middle. So we're going to try and do 2 beds in this top corner, which is the sunniest and the flattest. Should give us a good sense of what's going on.
So this no-dig method of gardening isn't just for lazy people who don't like digging. The whole thing revolves around not disturbing the soil as much as possible anyway. Because when you disturb the soil, you disturb all of the things that live within it, all those things that help your plants grow and find the right nutrients and find the right amount of water and all that kind of stuff. The method is very simple. You essentially lay down cardboard and a layer of compost on top to act as a mulch, to cover the soil, to protect the soil, but also to block out any weeds that are growing below. And then you can plant into the compost directly on top on the very same day that you make the beds. There's no need to clear the weeds or dig anything up before starting. And the idea is that over time, any weeds that are growing below your cardboard and compost mulch are smothered out, they don't get any light, and so their vigor is reduced and you get less of them, which means less weeding in the future as well, which is always a good thing. Of course, this is not the only way to garden, but it was a technique that we liked the sound of and wanted to try. As you may have seen in some of our other videos, we do experiment with other techniques as well, but we certainly like this one a lot, and we'll be showing you a lot more of it in this video.
pretty good. It takes a lot of compost.
Yes.
We're going to have to make a lot of compost. And wood chip. Lots.
So we've got, I think, something like 35 lettuce.
34 because you can't count.
34 because I can't count. We've got 20 onions, 10 leeks, about 20 cabbage and broccoli. I can't remember which is which, so we'll have a nice surprise when they come up. And then we've got 4 slightly more mature kale plants down here. And it looks pretty nice. We obviously need a bit more wood chip. We're just using the tiles temporarily just to kind of mark the edges of the beds, just to hold it all together. Those won't stay there long term. Although they look kind of nice actually, and we've got lots of them because there is a fallen down building. And so soon this will be food, which is very exciting. That's the only reason I like growing veg, is because then I get to eat it, or cook it and eat it. So the black plastic is the last piece of the puzzle. We've laid it out here to start killing off the weeds in the area where we're going to plant the next probably 3 beds. And because of the amount of materials, time, money that it takes, we'll probably just add maybe 2 or 3 beds at a time as we go all the way down to the far end. And then we'll see if we do this half as well. It's on a bit of a slope, so probably not the best, but if we need more space for growing things like longer term crops, things like potatoes, maybe some ground nuts so we can make peanut butter, that would be a good place for all that stuff, so we don't have to walk on it too much. Yeah, pretty happy with this. We learned a lot. I'm sure we would do a few things differently next time, but that's part of the fun. We've never really done this before, so we're just kind of making it up as we go along. But yeah, looking forward to eating some of this.
With the 2021 growing season well underway, as you can see by the rather long grass in the background, it was time to get started with sowing some seeds for some of the summer crops, things like tomatoes, courgettes, some spring onions, and a bunch of other things as well. And because we were planning to grow so many more things this year, we knew that we would need some more space. So we'd been busily composting everything we could find to make some homemade compost to supplement some of the stuff we bought from the store, some manure and some general purpose compost. It was a little bit lumpy, so I put it through an old bed frame to sieve it out and to make it a little bit finer, putting some of the bigger, sticky, woody, twiggy bits back into the first bay on the left. But eventually we had a whole bunch of compost ready, some more cardboard, some more wood chip, and it was time to expand our growing area.
So it is time for the big reveal to see what has happened under this piece of plastic, which is quite exciting. It's been many months. This technique of smothering the weeds doesn't work as well over the winter, which is why we've left it for so long. The idea is that not only does the black plastic block out the light that kills off anything that's trying to grow underneath, in the warmer weather it actually heats up and forces the weeds to germinate, and then because they've germinated into somewhere where there's no light, they then die, which is bad for the weeds but good for my vegetables.
These lumps, however, would indicate that that theory has not exactly worked.
Well, if something's very vigorous, then it will continue to grow. So yeah, we're going to take the plastic off, and we are going to do some digging in the no-dig veg garden to dig out any of these bracken ferns, just so that we can hopefully then not have them come back again. You look like a farmer today. You're doing a really good job.
Assist here, you know. Holding the camera only takes one hand.
Oh no, I have to keep it stable. There we go. I helped.
Oh, well done. Good job.
Thank you. Also surprised not to see many slugs and snails living under these tiles. I thought it was going to be a real issue, but it was really not a big deal at all. Okay, here we go.
Well, we've got a bit of work to do.
Oh my goodness.
And that forest of ferns.
Wow. That's kind of crazy.
Buggers.
Wow. Okay. Ants down here.
Look at all these bugs. Yes, hello.
I mean, it's done a pretty good job. There's not much green under there apart from these ferns. We should have just dragged it straight across.
Oh yeah. It's up anyway.
Yeah, it is.
Oh,
What are your thoughts?
it's going to take a while to dig all of them out.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, so the idea with no dig is to disturb the soil as little as possible. But in this case, if we don't remove these, they're just going to come straight up in between the vegetables, which is not good. So I think it is completely valid to remove them with a small trowel. Quite deep.
Well, it's connected to this one. I think they're like from the same.
Oh goodness.
So that's 3 connected to the same kind of root.
God. Wow, okay.
Maybe this is why all the locals plough.
Wow.
But at
Okay.
least it came out.
That's amazing.
That's all we could see above the ground and all of this underneath.
Holy.
But funnily, underneath the path where none were coming up. So,
Yeah, that's good.
you know, that is good.
Yeah, this will be interesting. Better get my digging shoes on. Well, that was quite hard work, and it's crazy to see how much roots and stuff we had to take out, and I'm sure there's some of it still there, and I'm sure we'll get some of them popped back up again. But I think this was an important step, even though I don't love the fact that we disturbed the soil so much, but I think it will really help us when it comes to growing food here. So we're just going to rake it flat-ish, and then tomorrow, because it's now 5-6 o'clock, we'll be coming back and putting in some beds. So cardboard, water, compost, plants. That's the plan. This is a piece that was in the pathway for the previous set of beds that we built, and so this has got lots of holes in it. It's been had bugs crawl through it, and it's basically now paper rather than cardboard. And so that's exactly what happens underneath. It's a natural product, relatively. Yes, there's some inks and some glues and stuff, but for the most part, pretty natural. We've tried to not use any of the stuff that's got printing on it. And yeah, it decomposes over time, so it feeds the soil as well as the compost that's on top of it. And yeah, so far so good. I mean, if you look at these beds here, they look pretty nice, right? So we're going to do 3 more.
Need to turn the hose on first though. So there we go, 3 beds made with a mixture of homemade compost and bought compost. Now I just got to find something to plant in here.
And of course, we've had plenty of things to plant. Some of them grown from seed, like these lettuce, and many of them grown from plugs, including these beetroot. And that was our plan for most of this first year of growing, was to pick up things from the local garden centre or farm shop and just try and plant whatever they had available that was currently in season to get a bit of a head start. Instead of growing everything from seed and trying to take on too much too soon, we wanted to focus on just building the beds, building the infrastructure, putting some plants in the ground, giving them some water when we remembered, and observing and seeing how things grew, seeing what did well and what didn't do so well, because we definitely didn't get 100% success rate on everything. And this trellis here was definitely something that we knew we needed to improve on for subsequent years because it was a little bit flimsy. But we had all sorts. We had tomatoes, we had peppers, melons, cucumbers, butternut squash, beans, all sorts of different things that all did really, really well. And it was a great experience to just see what happened. And we learned a lot from it, and we're going to be doing many of the same things in future. But of course, we'll make some small tweaks and some small improvements and try some new things as well. But it was a great first season. And once we pulled some of the summer crops, it was time to refresh some of the beds and the overall garden area as a whole.
Hello, good morning and welcome back to a beautiful sunny Sunday morning here in Portugal. And we're going to have a bit of a relaxing day today with a bit of gardening. We've had a delivery of some bark which came this morning. It was supposed to come yesterday, but the guy had lent his truck to one of his employees for their olive harvest. You've got to love Portugal. So we've got some bed refreshing to do, some path maintenance to do, a couple of trees to plant, and also some plugs as well to put in some of the winter vegetables. We've got some cabbage, some broccoli, some cauliflower, a bunch of onions, a few other bits and pieces as well.
peas, I think. And so we just thought we would take you along for the day as we do a spot of gardening. So it's almost a year since we started this no-dig veg garden, and we really enjoyed the process. We enjoyed the way it looked. We enjoyed the limited amount of weeding we needed to do. But one thing that was a bit of a struggle was the pathways. And there were really two struggles. One, the paths weren't wide enough, so we had quite a bit of weed pressure around the outside of the garden, around the perimeter. And the other problem was we started by using wood chip, and we were making our own from all the land clearing that we were doing, that you might have seen in a previous episode. But we just couldn't make wood chip fast enough, and we couldn't find anywhere to buy it here in the interior of Portugal, but we did find someone who supplied bark. So we had 4 cubic meters of it delivered, and we used it to refresh the whole garden area, to widen some of the paths, and to put down some more carbon material in the pathways, in the walkways, to keep the soil covered and to prevent as many weeds as possible from popping up. And I don't know about you, but I think it looks fantastic as well.
Probably. So there we go, a whistle-stop tour through the last 18 months or so of us growing food in the area behind me. I don't know about you, but I really enjoy these flashback episodes. And for us in particular, it's really valuable to see how much we've done in a relatively short space of time. Because when we've got our heads down and we're making beds or digging trenches or working in the house, which we do have some more of that coming up very, very soon, do not worry, we kind of forget what we've done because it always just feels like we've got a mountain more to do. So I really like putting together these episodes and kind of seeing where we've come and where we've got to. Anyway, we have more gardening coming soon as well, because in the next episode we're going to show you some of the expansion that we've done back here, a little bit of an expansion this way, and quite a big expansion that way to put in some space for summer crops. And we'll show you that whole process and some things that we're doing a little bit differently to just the pure no-dig. So if you're interested in all that kind of stuff and the experiments that we're doing and the things that we're learning as we're doing it, then do tune in for that one. But I think this is a good time to end this one. So we'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching. See you next time. Bye-bye.